Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with an awesome new knife consult for you on a brand new knife brought to us by Tashi Bharucha, one of my favorite knife designers, as well as Reate Knives, and Dave Stark from Steel Addiction Knives. So this is actually a project that is born out of a passion for knives. The folks over at Steel Addiction Knives, specifically Dave, has worked on creating a new line of what we're going to call sort of high-end productions, sort of mid-tech style knives here, and they are opening up this series of knives with the Krypton. This is a knife, like I said, designed by Tashi Bharucha, and it is built by Reate Knives, and it features the Kickstop mechanism. If the camera will focus, yes, that's right, the Lee Williams Kickstop. You may have noticed here that the flipper tabs disappear when you open the knives. So this is an interesting introduction for a model right here. It's certainly going to grab a lot of attention. This is very similar, I must say, to the recent Wingman EDC lineup. And I hate to draw comparisons here between companies. No two companies are going to be exactly the same, but entering into high-end production knife making with a limited series of high-end knife designers with Reate production, there are a lot of similarities going on there. And then the Kickstop mechanism as well. Clearly, the Kickstop mechanism has been licensed out now, and it's going to be used very widely. This is a very interesting collaborative effort here and design. And this really excites me. I really love Tashi's designs, and so I want to get into these knives and talk about them very much. I wanted to thank Dave for sending these two production sample models over for review. So as you can see, there are two different sizes. There is the larger size with about a 3.6-inch blade, something like that, and then the smaller size coming in with a 3-inch, give or take, blade. We'll get the exact measurements here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and talk about what we've got in a general sense. We have this blade of CPM 154 on these. The production models should be M390, both of which are very good steels. M390, definitely a little bit higher end steel. So that's very exciting. You have the semi-integral construction. They almost look like integrals, but they are in fact two separate pieces of titanium, very flush mounted. We will get into the details of the handle there. So a lot of appealing design going on here, very unique look. So the overall look is based off of a picture that Tashi had of a shard of kryptonite. Kryptonite, in case you're unfamiliar, is the alien material that is Superman's ultimate weakness. It causes his strength to go away. So this is modeled after a shard, so it's a long crystalline looking thing. Here you can see, and we'll get into it, there are some prism-like facets on the handle and then the sharp ends right here, so I can kind of see that. And it has some of Tashi's design elements, but not all of them. He said he wanted to make a Tashi that didn't really look like a Tashi. I'm not sure that he totally succeeded in that, but it certainly is a unique look amongst his very common designs that we see all the time. So let's go ahead and see what we're looking at here. Let's go ahead and get some vital signs on these guys right here. So as I mentioned before, this bigger model right here, as I bring the ruler out here, we're going to be getting just over 3.6, right about 3.6 inches, something like that. The overall length is coming in at about 8.5 inches right there. The handle length coming in at about 4.75 inches. So it's a rather large knife, 3.6 inches, 4.7 on the handle right there. And then the smaller guy is coming in, like I said, at about 3 inches on the blade. Line that up, and a little over 7 inches overall, maybe 7 and 7.25, a little less than that, 7 1/8 inches. So it's a much smaller package, and depending on sort of how you have your knife spec'd out, it's going to have some different weight. So as you can see, this one has the carbon fiber inlay, but it is the bigger model. Oh, I have it on grams right now. Let us change that. I was weighing out some food earlier today. All right. Let's do that. 5.3 ounces on the big guy. And then we're looking at 3.8, 3.79 ounces on the little guy right here with the Mokutai inlay. So speaking of the inlays, there are a few different handle variants. Besides the obvious size differences, each of the sizes are going to come with maybe 3 or 4 different variants. There's going to be one that just has some milled slots through here. There's obviously a carbon fiber inlay. There's going to be a zirconium inlay. And there's going to be a Mokutai inlay. And there may or may not be other options. You're going to have to look at the dealer list to see what is available at each one of those sites. I will leave a link or a list down below of the various dealers that are expected to have this. As of me making this video, it is not currently for sale, but it will be for sale this coming week. It'll be March the 17th of 2021. I'm recording this video a few days before that. So let's go ahead and break these knives down anatomically. As you can see, they are both very similar. I did want to bring out another couple of knives for a quick size comparison. Here is the Benchmade 940, very common knife right here. So that kind of slots in between the sizes of these knives right here. Here is the Spyderco Sage number 1 with the liner lock going on right here, similar in size to that smaller one. So you get a little bit of a sense here. I don't have a PM2 or a Para 3 for size comparison. Hopefully those will have to do right there. So let's use the big guy then for the anatomical breakdown. Up front is this Wicked blade with this very interesting harpoon tanto flat ground design. This is a very interesting blade shape, very eye-catching, very unique out there among the other blade shapes. Certainly don't see many that look like this. It sort of has a modified tanto style blade going on here, very long belly on the front end of that tanto edge and then a flat part right here. It's got the harpoon swedge, and it has this obvious fuller. Now, on the big knife right here and on the small one, you can indeed get your finger into that fuller and use it as an opening mechanism, which is a whole lot of fun. Definitely always enjoy any knife that has a nice finger flick motion going on there. Out front, we have Tashi's ridiculously large logo, as usual. That is put on there about as subtly as you can do for his giant logo. On the back, it says Kickstop right there. What does that say on there? Lee Williams, Kickstop, that's right. Licensed officially through this company here. As I mentioned, it's a flat ground blade. It will be in M390, this pre-production model, and this is an interesting thing right here. It says the blade steel, CPM 154, and then it says Kickstop in there when the blade is open. And then when you close it, it still says Kickstop. So you know that it's there. It doesn't have the blade steel out there yet, but when you open it, you get a little surprise. This is only available on the larger size model. The smaller one does not have the clearances to be able to do this. So you're only going to get this on the big guy, from what I can tell. So that is an interesting little thing. That's a lot of fun for those that appreciate the Kickstop and the nice blade steel. So very cool. This blade is very useful. I have carried the little one around and used it a bit. And I have enjoyed using it really a lot. It's actually very nicely ground. It's got a beautiful hand rub satin. As I mentioned, this is made by Reate Knives. They do a very excellent finish job on all their blades. There is the milled ball fuller, and then there is the satin on the blade itself. It's very, very uniformly done. Really, really nice work going on there. In true Tashi fashion, this has a very peculiar sharpening choil area right here. It's not quite a forward finger choil. It is not quite a sharpening choil. The blade just kind of abruptly comes to an end and sort of has this interesting little heel to it right here. Let's see if I can get that camera to focus at all on this. It really doesn't want to. There you go. You can see it there. Kind of unusual. Some people might have a little bit of an issue with that. Some people might just create a little bit more of a hole right there, a little bit more of a choil so that they can either choke up or sharpen the blade a little bit more easily. So that's an interesting choice. That is something that we see on a lot of Tashi designs. Moving back to the pivot here, actually. This is one of the most intriguing parts of the knife. That would be the Kickstop mechanism. As you can see, that flipper tab is present when it is closed, and then when you flip it, it is suddenly gone. It is not really present on either side. It actually hides right here. And as I bring that blade back around, it engages the tang again, and then it is out there. There is a hinging mechanism, and it just freely moves back and forth here. And then it hides itself in the opening position. That is the sort of appeal of it. What it also does, though, is the way that it sort of pivots on the blade, it provides for a very strong firing action. So this one is tuned very nicely. As you can hear, it is a very loud, echoous type of opening, and even on the little one, you get a very hard and fast, snappy firing. One of the things that is sort of a little bit of an annoyance is that the flipper tab is a little sharp in true Tashi fashion. They've added all this jimping to it, and it's not sharp on the finger. You can flip it without feeling sharp, but if you flip this all day long, you might get a little bit of a sore finger. That is just a very, I don't know how to explain it, first world knife problem kind of a thing. Just a little bit of discomfort on the end of your finger. It, however, does provide a lot of grip, and it's very difficult to not fire these knives, and so I appreciate that sort of give and a take. Moving back to the handles, as I mentioned before, this is modeled after basically a large crystal of kryptonite, so there are many beautiful facets going on here that capture the light. They've done an interesting thing with the pivot face. And they have covered the actual pivot mechanism on the front, and they've left the screw exposed on the back. You can see the interesting milling that they have done around that, the lines that go through all of this. As I mentioned before, it is a two-piece construction, but it looks almost integral based on how nicely finished everything is and tightly fit together it all is. You can take a look here at this circle on the back. It is a perfect circle despite being two pieces. This would really show any flaw in the lineup, and there really is not. It's very, very smooth, held together in the back by this screw that appears to go all the way across. The inlays are flush mounted, and they are contoured, so there is some complexity to these inlays right here. They're very, very smooth. You cannot detect the transitions between the metals. You cannot detect the transitions here on the pivot area on either of these models. It's quite sleekly done, and then it really keeps the lines very, very clean on this knife, and I really appreciate the design. I think it's unique. In a world of knives that kind of all end up looking the same, this is certainly a standout from the crowd. So what do I think of these knives? These are definitely beautiful, high-end, I guess mid-tech kind of knives, high-end production, and they are beautifully made by Reate. They are very nicely designed. It is a super striking design, and in hand, they're super comfortable. They really have a nice curvature. There are no hot spots. Despite all these facets, it really is very comfortable in the hand. Nothing on the back with all of these edges is sharp in any way when you hold this in your hand. I like the way that this blade has a little cutout for the thumb. Sometimes I like to get up there and hold the knife like this for some different cutting tasks, sometimes over the top like this. It provides for some nice control. I like the fuller on the blade. It adds fun and it adds beauty. It really is all about the lines. If you look at this knife as really a design exercise, it is an absolutely gorgeous thing. And then to add to it this really functional blade and then a very excellent fit and finish, really this is an excellent knife. This really ticks all the boxes: design, function, quality, and materials. You can customize it to have the different things that you want in it depending on your style, and it opens the door for some interesting interpretations in the future. I really like this design. The cost is going to be coming in somewhere between about $350, $375 up to about $550 to $600 depending on your spec. The most expensive will be the big guy with the Mokutai inlay, and then the least expensive would be the small one with just the slotted holes, and so you can look for that. These will be available on a few different websites, namely Steel Addiction Knives, Blade HQ, Cranes Production, PVK Vegas. and maybe a couple of more. I will leave some information down below so that you guys can find them. Let me know what you guys think of these knives. I didn't mention the clip here. They do a milled clip. It actually works quite well. It sits on the flat part of the handle, so it goes in and out of the pocket quite well. It rides relatively deep, particularly the small one rides relatively deep. You're only going to see maybe this much of the knife in your pocket. It's actually quite nice. I enjoy that. Lock bar tension is very good. There is a steel lock bar insert. I don't want to miss anything here. It runs on ball bearings. And it has great action. So I really do like these knives. I can wholeheartedly recommend them to you guys. I really enjoy Tashi's design, and this is an exciting new avenue in order to get some more of his designs out there. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Go ahead and click like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you on the next video.